Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. Today I'll be reviewing something a bit special. This is the Toei Animation Collection Gear 5 Monkey D. Luffy. Now this was a fairly limited figure overseas as far as I'm concerned, where you had to pre-order it directly from the Jump Shop or Toei Animation. I think it was just on Toei Animation, not too sure. Anyway, this is a special line of figures that Toei does every now and again, where they're statues of One Piece characters. And they aren't Portrait of Pirates or prize figures or anything like that. They're sort of in this weird collector's grade in between. They're non-scale, they're usually sort of diorama-ish, or they've got some sort of unique hook. And this is a cool little Gear 5 Luffy diorama. Now, I'm not far enough in the anime or manga to have been up to Gear 5, but I think I get the gist of it. And I think it's enough to review a figure of it. So we'll get right into it. This is effectively a Gear 5 diorama of 4 different Luffys in Gear 5 doing different things and basically just looking cool or funny. And in comparison to the Portrait of Pirates Gear 5, I thought that figure from all the promo stuff just didn't really capture the look and feel of the character. It's meant to be larger than life, cartoony, exaggerated, and colourful and bright. That figure was dark, it had this weird metallic sheen on it, and the pose just didn't really feel like Luffy, let alone Gear 5 Luffy. So I opted for this one, which had that vibrancy, that colour, just all the brightness and exaggeration, and I thought it looked really, really cool. So the box itself looks really premium, all of the promo images look really nice, and the detail looks great. I'm really, really keen to open it up. And it looks decently large, but I have heard the figure's not nearly as big. But it will still be like the size of a relative scale figure, like maybe 1/8-ish. So not really too fussed about that as long as it looks good and all the paint is nice. So taken out of the box and put on a display, here is the Gear 5 statue. And right away it looks really, really good. There's a nice mix of clear and solid plastics. The color white that they chose for Luffy is very striking and vibrant. You can already see that. They made a very good choice in changing the cloud sort of raiment around his body to being like a clear, pearlescent plastic, because then it breaks up the look of the figure quite a bit. Otherwise it would have been way more white than is necessary, and it would have been lost in all of this. So we will be taking a closer look at everything because the sculpt on this figure is fantastic. But as you can see, it's a bit of a cool little diorama as well as like a logo of actual One Piece. There is stuff happening everywhere and some incredible detail work and motion put into this. And it does feel like a unique sort of collector's piece. So first off, I think we'll look at the actual logo of One Piece. So it's the classic logo that we're used to. The I has been replaced with the standard Luffy as Gear 5 Luffy, and the crossbones O with the straw hat, it's got its eyes bugging out in a cartoonish way because on the end of it is a Gear 5 Luffy biting and trying to eat the sign. Looks cute and really nice. There is another Gear 5 Luffy wrapping his arm around the sign. There's a little Luffy with bugged out eyes looking at all this happen, as well as another Luffy laughing at everything. And then we've got the big Luffy towering over everything with the lightning bolt in his hands, and I think that's the most serious of these 4 figures. And it looks really, really good. It's the most sort of in scale as like a 1/8-ish sort of figure. There's some beautiful detail work, all of the colours are on point, and very few seam lines. It just looks really good, especially from that main front angle. The lightning bolt looks very, very good. It's a very clean mold, and I don't really see any bubbles or anything in the plastic, so it looks good. The smaller Luffy laughing is really exaggerated and nice. It's a good little departure from the standard laughing Gear 5 Luffy where he's covering his eyes and laughing backwards. I think that this figure shows a decent amount of expressiveness that Luffy is also known for. The little bugged out eyes Goofy Luffy looks good as well. It is the smallest of the bunch, and you'd imagine that it has less detail on it, and that is true, but it is very well detailed and the paint is consistent, so I'm happy with that. And the one eating the actual logo looks very good as well. I love the expression, the exaggeration, the grip that he's got with his teeth and his hands. It just looks fantastic. And seeing the bug out eyes of the logo just looks great. Now, I also like the consistency of the character, so the straw hat on the back of the biggest figure has got the scar marks in it from Buggy slashing the hat right at the beginning of the series. The hat itself is also very well detailed and painted. The Luffy biting into the sign also has those scars on it. I don't know if that shows on camera, but he does have it. The smallest Luffy does not, and that's fine. It's very, very small, and I forgive them for something like that, because all the other paint detail on this figure is immaculate. I didn't really notice any errors at all, which is good because this is a premium product. I believe it retailed for something like 27,000 yen in Japan, which is pretty pricey. It is definitely more than a standard Portrait of Pirates figure, but you can see that price actually went somewhere with all this beautiful paint and detail. Now, one thing I'm somewhat unsure of, but I understand why they did it, is the green cloud base that this figure is actually perched on. I understand the choice of cloud because it sort of fits Gear 5 Luffy, that it's a very aerial and fluffy and floaty sort of figure, very colourful and strange. But the green, I feel, was chosen so it doesn't interfere with the other figures. Otherwise you would have had something like a grey base or a white base, and if it was white it would have really messed with this aesthetic, and if it was grey, similar thing, but it would have looked even more boring. So I understand why they went with the green cloud base, but it's not my favourite. I fully understand why they did it, and I think it does bring the whole figure together because it's a very contrasting colour. But I'm curious if other colours would have worked better or a different design entirely. But that's probably the only complaint I have for this figure. Otherwise, everything looks great, and I'm fairly happy with it. If anything, I would have liked it to be just a little bit bigger, or maybe have another Gear 5 Luffy on the back of the figure, so it's like a little joke reference that you can't see unless you see it from the back. But it is also fully understandable why everything is on the front and you can see it from the front, because that's how it's meant to be displayed. But overall, a very, very nice figure, and I would recommend it if you can find it at a fair price, because I think the import price is pretty rough on this one. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed that video, and I will see you all next time.